Andrea, you made us review 8 episodes of Diagnosis Murder today. It's going to be a test of our friendship, of whether this podcast goes on any longer.
Are you kidding me? I hope you're kidding. I hope this is like your tease that you did last time and you really loved it. So,
well, this is Eric.
This is Andrea.
This is Hallmark Mysteries and more. Well, before we get going into this marathon of Dick Van Dyke and his son, the big news that's coming, which I've seen the first 2 episodes, and I have to say, extremely excited for Providence Falls. All of our complaining about programming for the first 7 months of the year, outside of 1 or 2 exceptions, is going to be forgotten. It's good. And I know it's too complicated. They're streaming. They gave us access to the streaming, and it is a pain in the ass to get to, but it was worth it, Andrea.
I gave up. I tried. I mean, I didn't try super hard. I tried on my iPad, and then it told me to go to my computer. And then I just was like, this is too many steps.
Right. So I actually had to reach out to support. You cannot see in an iPad. You can only see on a computer or Apple TV. Apparently you can download the Apple TV. There's an app in Apple TV, but whatever. So it is a pain to get to. And I think it's going to be good because it will give a little aspect of, you'll have your instant reaction where I'll have a little bit of the other. So when we get around to reviewing it, it will give us a little different perspective and be fun.
I did watch 2 of the movies on Hallmark Plus that dropped that were like bonuses, but actually aired in like 2021, 2017. So Christmas on the Fifth Avenue, that's like a one that they dropped. Loved it. If you have not watched one, highly recommend. It
has to be before 2021. I've never even heard of it.
Oh, it wasn't on Hallmark Channel. It's like an Up TV one. So they're just plucking things off other networks now and throwing them in because I'm sure it's cheaper.
So that's what the strategy for Hallmark Plus is. Find random programming. Oh, speaking of which, Gilmore Girls.
But it was really good.
Another conversation.
Well, yes. Okay, we'll come to that in a second. Right. And then the other one, because this one kind of pertains to our podcast, Christmas Wedding Planner. Let me just read you the description. So this intrigued me. Kelsey's world is turned upside down when private investigator Connor shows up. And the private investigator is Stephen Hazar. So this had oh yeah, this should be good. It was 2017. I'm not sure where this one originally aired. It was so bad. It was really boring. And the ending was too twist of mind-blowing. Hallmark would never do this. So if you want to watch a really kind of boring up until the last 20 minutes.
Was it Jane Mysteries Murder at Mosby crazy ending? No. Or was it just
well, kind of. The ending was
because that made it fun at least. So is this at least
the ending was
so crazy
wild.
It's fun?
It is a little wild. So I will say that the final maybe 10, 15 minutes, you're just what? Okay. But the whole leading up to it was a little bit of a snooze fest. They have Rebecca Dalton's in it, again, Stephen Hazar, Kelly Rutherford, who I think did a movie with Cameron Matheson. So there's some Hallmark stars that you'd recognize.
She did the one where she drops her kid off at school and then goes and stays. I forget what it's called. Good. It's actually a surprisingly cute movie.
I liked that one too. But yeah, this one, it's a wild ride. So I wouldn't recommend that as much. And I haven't watched the country one. So there's another one that was a country one. Maybe I'll watch that. Because after the Christmas on Fifth Avenue, I was like, oh, maybe they're picking some good ones. No, it just seems to be very hit or miss if they're good. So
I was too busy watching Diagnosis Murder 24 hours a day trying to get ready.
I mean, I normally do. So, well, and then Gilmore Girls said it's going to be released now, during the day. Now, personally, because Peacock doesn't have Hallmark anymore, I can't watch Hallmark live. There's no way for me to. I don't have a streaming service that has Hallmark live, so I have to watch everything on Hallmark Plus. So that's kind of a bummer. I tried to watch one of the, I don't remember what movie it was live, and then I'm oh, I can't even watch it live. I think it was the new Hannah, and so I was well, I guess we'll just watch it on the app. Yeah, so it's kind of a bummer. So for me, Gilmore Girls, have you seen it?
I've got mixed feelings. I tried getting into it way back when, just didn't. I just didn't.
I watched it a few years ago, probably in like, I don't know, 2018. And I
Like
liked it. I
like the
mean, it's not
whole
one
like
that
you binge
it's,
the whole thing or you
yep, I watched the whole
okay.
thing. It's not one that I'm like, it's not even a go-to, like I'll turn on my Golden Girls. Like I turned
Right.
that on last night. Like it's not something that I turn on as like a comfort show. Like One Tree Hill, I often will come to as well. So like that one's just not one that I fall back on, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's
That's my
every
thoughts.
day, weekdays 2 to 6, and then Saturday, Sunday
That's a
8 to
chunk of
10.
time. That's a
So
chunk of
they're
time.
I don't know how many seasons there are of it, but they'll
A lot.
get through it pretty quickly. I think going with those many episodes
It's a
that
chunk.
fast. So
Well, let's go back to another old show, Diagnosis Murder. So this originally aired between 1993 and 2001. And the premise, Dr. Mark Sloan has a knack for getting into trouble, negotiating the twists and turns of mysteries, and solving crimes with the help of his son, Steve, a homicide detective. All right, the first one I made you watch was season 1, episode 11, Flashdance with Death. While dancing a routine with Mark, dance studio owner Roland Spear dies when a prop cane short circuits his pacemaker. Mark and Steve research who had opportunity to sabotage the cane, with Roland's partner Sammy as the leading suspect. For me, love this one. I felt like it was finally getting its legs as a series. At episode 11, it finally felt like, okay, now we kind of see where this series is going. You get to see Dick Van Dyke dance. You have Elizabeth Berkley in this one, as she kind of was in that transition from Saved by the Bell into that movie. I think she did like a stripper movie.
Showgirls?
What was
Showgirls.
it?
Yeah, Showgirls.
Yes. So this is kind of her evolution as an actress as well. Um, I did find it like odd though that like Dick is getting a lap dance from his son's girlfriend at one point. Like, I'm sorry, I would never think, let me give my boyfriend's father a lap dance at any point. Like, that just is a weird scene. And there are some odd scenes like that. If you are a Diagnosis Murder fan, you will be like, oh, there are some scenes that maybe wouldn't stand up in today's day and
Yes.
age, but this is the 90s, so things maybe were loosened a little. So those are my thoughts. What did you think?
Okay, Andrea. Well, this is my introduction into diagnosis murder, and I don't know. The thing I can say for it is it had Elizabeth Berkley, and I've said before, she went to my high school. That was interesting. She went
But
on to
were
do
you at the same like
no,
same? Oh, okay,
she's younger. She didn't actually graduate. She went on to do something else.
okay.
I think
Saved by the
she's
Bell.
no, well, maybe she was four. Let's see, she was more than four. I think she was 6 years younger.
Okay.
But she went on to do Showgirls, which she's a dancer in that as well. Um, a little saucier in that one. But this had Paula Marshall in it, and Paula Marshall was like total crush on her through the 2000s. She was like known for always being in a series for 1 year and then it get canceled. So she never could get anything picked up. So it's like seriously, it's like a thing that I remember. It was like 7 years in a row where she was the lead in something and then it didn't get picked up. So she was the lead in the
Oh.
next one and then the next one. So, but it was great seeing her in this one. And then you talk about the dance. The dance was an homage to Flashdance, which the title of the episode is. So she does like the Flashdance, right? So I get that. But yeah, you're right. It was a little creepy
I've never seen Flashdance either.
doing it to, well, I know this diagnose. You're also not the diagnosis murder typical audience either. You're a little bit younger. So back in, whatever there, most of the people would have
I
known
guess it's true.
Flashdance when
It's
this
true.
first aired. But it was a little creepy once again doing it to someone who's twice-ish more
And
your
your
age. And
boyfriend's
your
father.
boyfriend, yes, yes.
That's
I mean,
weird.
can you imagine being that like, hi, meeting
That's so
your
weird.
husband's dad for the first time, and let me show you my
Let's do
move.
lap
So yeah,
dance.
that was a little weird, but that's a theme of the movie or the series. I think there's a lot of things that didn't quite age well,
There
but
are some. I will agree
yeah.
with you there.
But I also never thought I'd see a Hallmark movie that really takes place in a strip club either. So there's a lot of the things about this whole series that aren't very Hallmarky. It's kind of interesting that, it's network TV, but it's a little bit saucier than Hallmark typically would be. A lot of scenes. But then again, Golden Girls is the same thing.
Yeah.
So you don't know. But then also the victim, once again, well before your time, was William Catt, who was the greatest American hero. So for the Gen X people and probably boomers who, once again, this is geared towards originally, they all know the greatest American hero. So it's great to seeing for me all these sort of, I don't want to say B-list, but celebrities who are not necessarily there. And that's, once again, it's a theme as we go through all these sort of familiar faces that you see that are on the series. And imagine if I had watched all 8 seasons, which it felt like I did. But it was amazing how many famous people had made guest appearances on this.
I mean, it's Dick Van Dyke.
Yes.
His probably, what did they call those things? Like the Rolodex?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure his is heavily, like, I can imagine who's in there for him. So
I agree.
The creme de la creme.
So, for me, it was interesting in seeing it, getting an introduction. So I took, ease into it. The overall mystery, a lot of leaps and stuff and shenanigans. So it was, it was kind of fun, but that's where I'll leave it.
Well, and that one you talked about other actors, like, so Victoria Raoul, who plays Amanda Bentley, her TV husband from Young and the Restless was also in this episode. And then they actually do have a Young and the Restless episode, I think in maybe season 3. I was going to have you watch it, but I think it's the same season as F Murder. So I was like, no, I can't have you. I got to F Murder. So if anyone's a Young and the Restless fan, or was, I don't know if it's still on, that could be a cute little thing just to see all the people. And then occasionally they do throw in some Young and the Restless, like, oh, you're watching the soaps. What are you watching? So that's a little nod to her.
But I would say getting into celebrity guests the next episode.
I told you. All right. Well, season 2, episode 11, Death by Extermination. Mark's obnoxious sister Dora moves in with him while her new house is fumigated. Well, when her realtor's dead body is found in the house, Mark is frantic to solve the murder so Dora can move into her new house. I mean, Betty freaking White. Like, just 2 legends on screen, where we talked about Travis and Amy having that like chemistry. Like, clearly, Dick and Betty have the comedic chemistry. I bet they riffed so many of those lines just back and forth. Like, it just was so, like, that relationship. I wanted her in more. Like, she's never in another episode, unfortunately. But like, that was such a perfect like portrayal. And for me, like, the character she played from a small town, I'm like, gosh, we all had an aunt like this. Like, you all know someone like Aunt Dora. You're like, oh no, she's coming to town. No filter. Just gonna like say whatever pops in her mind. And it's usually something that's offensive. And she's gonna say it in a delivery that is like, I'm mad at you, but you like say it in not like a dig kind of purposely way. I don't know. She delivers it so well. I hadn't watched this one in a while, so I did go back and watch it. And this one, I think you also have Jack in there, which I will be curious to see. You only got to see obviously the first 2 episodes with Jack, and he's out by season 3. How you liked him compared to Jesse, and in your limited view of those 2 characters, how those went. And then Doris, the secretary, who also gets written out of the series in season 3. She's also in this episode. So this was kind of a nice one just to see a little bit more backstory. You're not going to get a ton of it, obviously, with either of those 2 characters. But I'll be curious to know if you liked those 2 characters. And Norman Briggs is in quite a few seasons. He only gets written out towards the end. So I would love to know your thoughts on some of those side characters too.
Well, I don't remember the secretary, so I can't say that was too big of a impact.
Oh, shoot.
But yes, Betty White was literally the episode. She was
so good.
And it's so funny too, because you look at it, I'm watching it in 2025, and she's a travel agent. Yet she's like I'm a travel agent. I'm so, full of perks, this, that, and the other. And a travel agent today, there's probably a vast part of the majority of young people who don't even know a travel agent is a job, right? Whereas in the time, yeah, you were like, I had tickets, you're getting schmoozed, so it really made sense for what it would be. But it's funny because I was thinking about it, I was like, Dick Van Dyke was on, remember he was on the Golden Girls. He was supposed to he tried to
Yeah.
marry Dorothy, right?
Yep.
But
Yep.
he was a doctor on that,
Yep.
but he wanted instead to be a clown, right? And
Yes.
didn't he he's
Yes.
like
Yes.
he's like, choose me, I want to like
Yes.
permanently be a clown or
So
something. And
good.
Dorothy's like, I can't deal with
So
this.
good.
And right. So I don't know if they were like same time periods or years apart or whatever, but
They
I
are.
remember that one episode of Golden Girls as being hilarious because yeah, when he came in as the clown and she was trying to take him so serious and like be supportive of it, and yeah, you just couldn't. Um, the interesting tidbit here, though, I did look up Susan Gibney, who was the killer. She was in um, episodes later, but played two different characters later. So she's like, it kind of reminds me of, our garage sale,
Oh
April
yeah.
Telex or something, who comes back because it goes on so long. Oh, just bring back as another,
There's a
character.
few
Oh,
of these
bring
in
back as
Diagnosis
another
Murder.
character. And,
Just
you
like
just,
Murder She Wrote. Yeah.
yeah, people don't remember
No.
and things like that. I just looked her up because I was like, oh, who is she? And because I thought I knew her and I did not. But then I saw like, oh, Diagnosis Murder, multiple seasons. I'm like, okay, but wait, she's in jail. And then that's why I was like, all right, figured that out. And then my dad was a pharmacist, and there's the scene where Betty White shows up, to distract and knocks on the pharmacist in the middle of the night saying, hey, I need some samples to sleep or relax. And the pharmacist's like, yeah, hang on, let me go do that. My dad never had anyone at 2 a.m. knocking on the door and him then going and giving samples. And this was back in the 70s and 80s where you had a lot more home calls or whatever you could say. So it was just kind of funny, and you're asking about Scott Baio, like, I don't know. I don't know.
What did
He,
you think
he
of his character?
his character was just okay. I find like so my whole overall premise of the entire series is
Okay, don't ruin that. Save it for the end.
it's it's
Stick
just
with Scott Baio, and we'll save your teaser for the end.
Scott Baio just I don't know. I didn't like him in Happy Days. He's always the weakest character.
Oh, interesting.
I hated when Joni loves Chachi. She'd never been his own show. So Scott Baio to me is just not
like him.
someone who really deserves a Hollywood career. So I did not.
Wow. Okay.
I did not say I was not
clearly.
so
Wow.
into Scott Baio in this. The Jesse who we get a little later. I had more fun with that one than the Scott Baio one.
Well, that leads into my next episode because I am going to share my own thoughts on those too. Season 3, episode 17, F Murder. Sloane suspects a TV homemaker, played by Vicki Lawrence, of plotting a shock jocks, played by Morton Downey Jr.'s electrician. So for me, this is obviously when Scott
Quick
Baio...
question. Do you even know who Morton Downey Jr.
No,
is?
as I just read that name, is that Robert Downey Jr.'s dad?
Like you couldn't have Robert Downey Jr. and Morton Downey Jr. They're both juniors.
Oh.
No,
I don't know. That's why I was like, oh, that's his dad.
What's funny is I said the same. I said something
it?
about him to my wife this morning, and she said the same thing. I'm like, they're both juniors. Of course, they're not related. No, he was like a TV daytime. Like he was kind of like what his role was in that thing in real life, but on TV, he was just super obnoxious, misogynistic, chain smoking guy who was just, yeah, everyone just hated him and everything like that. So he pretty much was that person in real life. So he played himself.
Nope, no idea who he was.
I didn't think. I was thinking that you.
As I read the name, I was like, no. Well, Scott Baio, aka Jack, is out. Charlie Schlatter, aka Jesse, is in. Personally, I prefer Jesse to Jack. I think it's a much better fit for the show. I find Jesse to be a better sidekick character than Jack as well. Like Jack and Amanda, I don't know if they purposely were trying to get them to have like chemistry, but it just felt like that was maybe what they were trying. But like Amanda maybe the actress is kind of like, I don't know.
She's the other doctor, the pathologist?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, and it's so their roles are also a little dicier in the first few seasons of like what type of doctor they are, and then they get a little ironed out as the series progresses. Because in the first couple seasons, you're like, wait, what? What are you? And then she is the forensic person,
Right.
like dealing with the dead people, but that's not clear in the first two seasons. So I'm not sure. But Jesse is an intern, but then he also slashes a doctor by the end. Those waters are a little muddy as well.
Over time, you go from being an intern to a full whatever. So it makes sense.
They're doing their crime sleuthing. And so for me, this episode, though, one of my all-time favorites. I love this episode. I think it's so good. Vicki Lawrence with Dick Van Dyke and doing like the TV show together. I think their chemistry, just like coming off the Betty White one, was spectacular. I loved the actual mystery of this one as well. I think it's done really like you're on a show and you're calling in someone as you're driving to go to his house to set up his murder, which was a big thing in like the 80s and 90s because Murder She Wrote also had a lot with a hair dryer. Literally, I am still to this day terrified of having a hair dryer anywhere near me in the bathroom. And I'm pretty sure I had asked my mom when I was young. I'm like, Mom, like, could I kill myself like by accidentally dropping it? And then like she goes, no, Andrea, they've since put stuff on hair dryers, so they are supposed to short out. Because of probably all of these 80s and 90s mystery shows.
That's why your bathroom plug has that little button thing on it. Yes. So.
Shoot. Well, I don't know if ours up here, my house here is an old St. Paul house, and the people did a lot of the wiring themselves. So who knows if it actually works? So I don't want to try that.
You may actually be able to then.
Not sure. So now I'm back to terrified of those dryers. But because of episodes like these, I was like, oh my gosh, the hair dryer in the water, in the bathroom. And ours basically had pennies in the screw things because we still had the screw and fuses until when we moved in. I made my husband, we had an electrician come in and redo our wiring. But yeah, all of that to say, scary. So this episode, though, I found it to be, I think it's fabulous. If you do not love this, I'm going to actually be really insulted.
I found it was like completely silly to me that from a mystery standpoint. Now, I will say Vicki Lawrence and him,
spectacular.
They were great. Vicki Lawrence, once again, talk about, this is what I was saying earlier, the star power of Vicki Lawrence is like, she's once again way before your time. Was like the night the lights went out in Georgia, and just her show being Carol Burnett and all that. Like, she's legit.
Mama's
and Morton
House.
Downey Jr. at the time was, this controversial TV talk show shock. He was like a TV shock jock kind of thing, right? So he was his role. But the mystery of it was she sneezes, so all of a sudden he completely solves the crime because she sneezed.
Every good detective does.
It was such
every good detective.
It was such a leap that I found it I was like, oh my God, I'm so annoyed.
Jessica Fletcher does that stuff all the time.
Jessica Fletcher is not he is not in her league. I think Jessica Fletcher, I'm on board with her. Mark
Sloan?
He does not sleuth. He just all of a sudden's like, I've got a gut feeling. I've solved the case because she sneezed. Or look, she left a ring on the on her coffee cup on the countertop. Therefore, she must be a killer. So yes, whatever. But I really loved what I thought was great in this was the Mark and Kitty's like cat and mouse, where he's like, I know you did it. And she's like, okay, then you prove it. And then they go on air and they're all smiles and they're doing it and they're just going through it. So I thought that was actually really fun.
Well, and like the mystery of her having a baby and then like that whole thing, that I thought was good and layered.
Sure. But the actual mystery of Mark's, like I say, of him solving it just annoyed me that I could not get past that. And then at the end, okay, so he grabs the steering wheel. Wouldn't she just sort of maybe take her foot off the gas or hit the brake rather than continue driving crazily into a bus stop? So I think you'd be able to stop your vehicle rather than be like, oh no, oh no, oh no. So I
Too
don't know.
much
But it
thinking
was
in
interesting
his
that she
mysteries.
used, and I don't know if it's true, some hen
Herb.
that eats poison
I know,
to
isn't that?
to do that. So that was interesting. I'll give it that. But like I say, just his leap of with so nothing to be like, oh, I know you did
She's
it.
allergic to cats. Clearly, there was a cat there. Boom. Solved. I was right on board too. It's right there with
There's
him.
cats everywhere. And
I
she
have
could
a
have been
cat
allergic
somewhere in my
to she could
house.
have been allergic to multiple things and whatever. So all
It
right.
was the 90s. People didn't have that many allergies.
That's a good point. Well, let's
Oh.
let's maybe go a little downhill from where
Oh
we
no.
were.
Oh no. Season 4, episode 18, Murder Country Style. The prime suspects in the murder of a country star are a driven TV producer and her timid songwriter daughter. So this one I've already I recommended, I don't know, maybe a month or so on my Instagram stories, and people loved it. If you are a country fan of like the 90s, like I wasn't a big fan in the 90s, but like that's what I grew up on because I'm from the small town. And so all of like the Reba McEntires, the Billy Ray Cyrus, a whole bunch of other stars that I can't remember
Dean
their
Allen, I
names.
think. Or yeah, I don't know all the people, but yes.
Alan Jackson this one? I'm not sure if he
No.
was. So there's another lady. Oh man, it's gonna drive me nuts, but I don't remember her name. But she was a big star. So again, didn't really listen to it, but it's fun to go back and like hear them and see the fashion. For me, that was kind of the main episode, not the mystery itself, because the mystery itself and like actually Dr. Sloan and his son and them doing their investigative work, I feel is like very, very secondary. My main whole thing with this episode is watching the CMA Awards and getting to see these performances and stars because they do. Like Reba actually sings with that other gal that I can't remember her name. So sorry to the country music fans out there. But that is like, that I feel is the highlight. We have the nice Billy Ray Cyrus is on there a couple times because Boot Scoot and Boogie, like, hey, this is his time. This is his era right now. So for me, that's why I really liked it. The actual mystery, not my favorite. But what did you think?
I think you're 100% accurate in that there was actually maybe 10 minutes of mystery
Yeah,
and
mostly performance.
whatever 50 minutes of performance, and they're just like, okay, throw a scene here and throw a scene there. And but it did have Barbara Mandrell, who once again keeping that star power going, at that
Reba
time.
McEntire,
Barbara
Billy Ray
Mandrell, but
Cyrus.
she didn't like really act. They were just on
Oh yeah,
stage,
they were
right?
playing themselves.
Yeah, but having, Barbara Mandrell was a pretty big person at that time, and so having her in it was kind of good, and she can act. I don't There was like the Barbara Mandrell show or something, like the Mandrell sister show or something like that, I recall. So, she could act. But all right, so we're, you know,
Terry Clark. That's the
four
name. Terry
episodes
Clark.
in over 4 seasons. So we're like, going into the 4th season. And the only question I have is, does Steve actually do any policing?
Okay,
Be-
so again, I have not picked strong ones for him. I'm talking ones that I like, but
okay.
yes, he does. I'm actually rewatching all of this like Diagnosis Murder, and I'm on like almost the end of season 3. And I will say yes to that, but the ones I picked,
Okay.
he's not a big part
No,
of
he
most
is
of
not.
these. Yeah.
He sort of
So
sits back
yeah,
and,
there
watches
are
some
better ones
TV,
for him.
eats
There
some
are better ones for
popcorn,
him.
and his dad does everything with
Yeah.
his little sidekick doctors.
Yeah. There are
And
better
Steve is
ones.
like, "Oh, wait, we solved it? Okay, well, excuse me, hang on, let me finish this up, and then we'll go arrest whoever you tell me to arrest, Dad."
I mean, mostly, yes, Mark does do a lot of the crime solving, and Steve does get. It's very much like a Hallmark mystery, you
And
know?
I'm
Your helper is
wondering
one
if
doing a lot
the
of the solving.
Country Music Awards were like on CBS like a month later or later that week, 'cause this was such a promo that it
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
it wasn't really a Diagnosis Murder show. It was a promo
Yeah.
for the awards, and which you
That's why I said
liked.
it's fun.
Okay, great. And then you could see the twist coming from 10 miles away. Like when as soon as they showed her at the opening scene cleaning off the whatever the lamp thing. I'm like, okay, she didn't do it. She's covering for somebody. And then you find out she has a daughter. I'm like, okay. So could see it coming from so far away. And we talked about Jessica a second ago. To me, Mark Sloan just seems smug, whereas Jessica, she's maybe smug, but she's charming in Murder She Wrote, and she can
Mark
be.
Sloan is so charming. What?
He's just smug. So there's where we're at.
I don't know if I want to keep continuing because these are not my favorite. The next two are not my favorites. All right. Well,
there's 3 more to go.
No, there's 4 more. We are on only season 5.
Right.
Season 5, episode 5.
This is just like watching it. Oh my gosh, there's 4 more. I thought I'm almost done. But let's go.
Slam dunk dead. Jesse faces being fired and losing his state license because he is blamed for the death of a professional basketball star who took a lethal mixture of medications. Okay. Solely be told. I picked this because basketball is my favorite sport, and R.I.P. Malik Sealy is in this. And Malik Sealy used to play for the Timberwolves. He unfortunately was killed in 2000 by a drunk driver. Very sad. That was a sad story. Coming home from KG's birthday party one morning. They have since redid the road that he was killed on, or the loop, because apparently it was confusing, but obviously they were a drunk driver that killed him. Very sad. Very sad. So he is in this episode. That is why I had us watch it, because Malik Sealy also had some acting. I think he did some other basketball films as well. So for me, this episode it's okay. Like, we get a lot of Jesse. You get a little more introduction to him, so that's kind of fun. The scene at the end, the courtroom, when Dr. Sloan throws the ball at the man who supposedly has cerebral palsy. That is just, I had forgotten the twist of that, and I was like, what is he do? And then I was like, okay. I was like, what is happening here? Just chucking basketballs.
Once again, an episode that does not age well, by the way.
No, I'm like, oh boy. So yeah, that is where I forgot the whole who did it. I forgot the whole mystery element of this again. I picked it because of Malik Sealy, and I wanted you to get introduced to Jesse. And then the whole actual mystery of it, I'm like, wow, what a journey we went on here with this water boy. What a journey. So if you want to watch an interesting mystery, that's in a very extensive lie that this man portrayed. So, like, essentially, this basketball player that he killed injured him when he was younger, and now he pretends like he has cerebral palsy to get
for
close
2
to
years,
him, and then finally gets his chance to murder him. I don't know. That's a little bit of a leap, I will say. So for me, the actual mystery.
Oh, you had the last one when somebody sneezes and they're
that
a killer.
Was not a leap.
That was
not a leap. This is a little bit of a leap.
Okay.
What did you think?
I actually thought this was one of the better mysteries because it actually made sense why they're investigating and doing there, because, it was part of the medical thing, and they're into their roles investigating as medical professionals should investigate. Plus,
Jesse could lose his license, so
right, it had but also Jesse, I'm not quite sure he's the best doctor I want in the ER, because when the basketball guy collapses, he just runs up and listens to him breathe and says he's dead. Like, no attempt at CPR, which I would want a emergency room doctor personally doing some CPR on me if I collapsed. But whatever, Jesse, we're not going to say he's going to win Doctor of the Year.
Remember, he was an intern.
And then Ken Howard, once again, going well before your time, the owner or whoever he was of the basketball team, was in The White Shadow, a show which you probably would love, because it's all about high school basketball players who are all from the wrong side of the tracks who, come together because of basketball and all the drama surrounding basketball. It's from the 70s, but he was the coach in that. So it's good seeing Ken Howard in that, who I think he may have played like college basketball or he's something actually a real basketball guy.
Hmm.
But so for me, seeing once again Ken Howard in this episode, where, like I say, if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, the people who are in all of these episodes are like, oh yeah, there were, they were big time back then. So it's a chance to get another paycheck for them. But like I say, I thought it totally made sense. And it was, I'll say, a good twist that just did not age well at all. Like you could do it, you'd have to do it in a significantly different way than how they did it.
Yeah. Well, season 6, episode 5, Blood Will Out. This is my least favorite of the ones I picked for you. I just picked a random one because some like this season I was kind of rolling through and 6, 7, and 8. It kind of starts getting a little out there. I mean, we have aliens at one point. We have a lot of stuff that's happening on Diagnosis Murder towards the end. Very jump the shark feel. Now, this one, they have a lot with COVID-ish viruses, ironically, in Diagnosis Murder. And this would be kind of like one of these episodes. So a supposedly dead man escapes from the pathology lab and terrorizes community general. So this person infected himself with the disease that he was trying to do as like lethal warfare, and that you can drop over cities and kill millions of people, and that the government tried to have him create this. So they tackle this multiple times in Diagnosis Murder in multiple ways. So when COVID first happened, I literally thought of the Diagnosis Murder episode because I'm like, oh my gosh, they predicted this. Like,
where's Dr. Mark to save us?
This is, and so overall, though, this episode, it's creepy. Like, it's a creepy episode. I think towards the end, they start to get a little bit more on that edge, a little bit more like the other ones felt a little bit maybe more cozy. Whereas this one is like, hey, you're kind of like gripping the edge of your seat with this guy who just pops up and like Amanda thinks he's dead and is like analyzing him. And then he reaches up with his hand, like terrifying. And you're like, he's not dead. And then goes on and tries, to terrorize people throughout the hospital. So for me, that part, it was okay. I like that we saw Bryan Cranston. This is not the first time we've seen him. He's actually in season 3 as well as a homeless man. And that mystery was also intriguing. I just finished that episode. And so I was like, wow, he was on a couple times. And this one, he is obviously he is a bad guy in this one. But you get entanglement with the government and who's on whose side. Who's good, who's bad, we don't really know. I feel like this is like portrayal of real life at times, present day. So for me, I don't know. This episode's a little teetering on too much of real life situations.
Well, you're not very gritty, so that's understandable.
That's a gritty episode.
I thought it was one of the better mysteries, and
of course you did.
Like you said, that intro with being in the morgue with the dead bodies and all of a sudden he's not dead, that was pretty intense. And then
so you might like the episodes I didn't pick.
it kept going. I thought it was kind of a interesting whole plot, but going back to once again Steve, they're in a hospital and yet Steve can't catch a guy who's in a hospital or come even close to it. It's like, I could figure out.
He has the government who is also working against him. So
yeah, but he started a while before he had the government. Like, I'll put somebody at the exit, and that was his whole plan. And then I'll sit back and I'll watch Murder She Wrote on TV with you, okay? Or I'll sit back and I'll watch some Hot House episodes. And so I thought Steve's lack of placing in there was comical, but I did find it interesting. But at the end, when his like big way of Mark of solving it, or not solving it, revealing it and forcing the government in there was, I injected the virus in myself. So I think Bryan Cranston's
not the first time he does that in Diagnosis Murder
if Bryan Cranston's really that bad, he'd be like, great, good, you're going to die, so I don't have to worry about you. But no, so they didn't. So it was kind of a little silly. But for me, like, I thought it was an really interesting premise. Then unfortunately, Diagnosis Murder executed.
Eric, you're bringing me down,
You
man.
said yourself you didn't like it.
Well, I mean, I still like the
I thought it was a
series.
really interesting premise.
Okay.
And once again, it's Steve. Steve should have been able to catch the guy in about 15 minutes. Hospital lockdown. I would not want to be in that hospital if that's the kind of security they're going to have, or less.
Well,
That's why Steve
season
only gets cases where his dad solves it for him, which
season
is a great
7,
is a great
episode 11.
great segue going into the next episode.
Santa Claude. Claude Campbell, the hospital's janitor, is looking forward to playing Santa Claus again, but Mark diagnoses him with terminal cancer. So for me, I enjoy this episode. I think it shows the human and compassion side of Dr. Sloan. As I say with Jessica Fletcher, she would have turned him over because that is what like she did. Like even if it was like that borderline of like, is this right? Is this wrong? Like she always was like, nope, following the law. So for me, this episode, I like that Dr. Sloan actually is like, no, we're going to let him live out his life in Mexico, and arranged all of that. And, had Jesse take him out with friends, and then off he went. And then how they purposely removed Steve from this because Steve works in obviously law. And so they don't want to get him in trouble. And they purposely say, here, you go to your barbecue restaurant, because him and Jesse own that barbecue restaurant,
And it's
FYI.
about as good of policing he would do had he been there. So
well, and there he's removed from the situation.
Right.
And then obviously the cop that's there falls asleep because of that. I also liked the barbershop quartet, the singing that they do. I thought that was a really fun element as they sing him off to sleep, and then he gets to sneak away to them singing. So for me, this episode I enjoyed. I picked this mostly because I'm like, oh, it was a good Christmas one. Also, again, season 7 is kind of like where are we going? There's some weird stuff that's happening. We also have vampires in Diagnosis Murder that are true vampires. She really is a vampire. We don't finish with she's not. We finish with she really is a vampire.
All right. You should have picked that one for me.
That's in season 2 though, or season 1. What do you think?
I thought once again, I did not think this was a terrible episode because it took place in the hospital and really kind of everything made logical sense. So yes, while he makes his leaps and things like that, it was all sort of, yes, we're in the cozy world and we make believe, things like that. But it at least was all semi-plausible. And to your point too, I liked, the fact like it did show a little compassion and like, okay, they sort of break the law to do the right thing, where Jesse had the line, like, oh, the law wins, 364 days, but justice can win one day. I thought that was kind of like the whole sum of it. And it's what we talk about in Private Eyes, how they will ultimately do the right thing that you wish we could do.
Yeah.
And they can do it because they're not in the law. They don't actually the cops. So yeah, you're right. Steve wouldn't have been able to say do this because then he really would have been an incompetent police officer.
Yep.
So in that aspect, I liked it. But the St. Louis detective, I have to say, is the most understanding officer on the planet, because if someone shows up and says, hey, you know that case that you prosecuted? Well,
and it's Christmas time. Let me stay here a little longer.
My dad thinks, that guy actually is innocent. So I want to reinvestigate your case because he smelled some s'mores. All right, let's go do it. Right? It seems like a little cop would be a little more defensive or dismissive.
Want to get home for Christmas.
But the guy was like, okay, let's go do it. And, so more power to him and everything. But like I say, I thought it was okay. Obviously it was a good holiday one. We were in Christmas in July, so appropriate. I didn't hate myself after I watched this episode. So it was, it was not bad in that aspect.
Well, we get to finish with season 8, episode 7, Hot House. I picked this because I wanted to have his grandson now in there. And so his grandson, well, let me first read the synopsis. To investigate a possible murder, Dr. Sloan goes into a house of roommates who are monitored 24 hours a day by cameras for a national television show. So it's kind of like a Big Brother-ish. And I mean, this is totally like Nepo babies of like, let's bring my son on as Steve Sloan. And then now let's bring the grandson in. And the grandson plays a going to be doctor. He's also an intern. And so he's in various different episodes, I think maybe starting in season 7 and a little bit, and for sure season 8. Also is in the Murder 101 those 4 mysteries.
Okay.
He plays different characters there too. So he pulls them along, clearly as the acting bug. There's also a granddaughter that is in the last episode, and I think another grandson that is in an episode. So he pulls all of them in. If they want to act, Dick Van Dyke is giving out roles towards the end of Diagnosis Murder. So this, I mean, it's starting with the reality TV. I think this is, we're what? This went to 2001, I think. So kind of that reality TV is fresh in the, early 2000s. And so I think they really probably nailed that of being one of the first shows to be like, let's hop on this trend. And I thought that mystery itself was clever, how they're going outside and they catch it with the lights coming on with the police car. And I think that the grandson dating the older in the hothouse, I was like, wow, Eric,
I'm all for
Eric?
that.
I was just to say, what is Eric going to say about this?
I'm all for it.
I was like, we got a 20-year-old dating maybe a 40, 50-year-old woman. And
yep.
I was like, oh, of all the ones to have, I totally forgot that was even a romance that happened in this show. So for me, I like this. I think it's a cute little episode. I hadn't seen it in a while, but it landed for me. And I also enjoyed how the black male, like when Steve asked him and like he was like pushing back about like, hey, I know my rights. This happens all the time, driving while black. And I'm like, wow, Diagnosis Murder ahead of their time to throw in that line and to have the actor, I don't know who decided to fight for that.
DWB.
Yes, I was like,
that was bold.
That was amazing for this time, So I appreciated that as well, that they let, people come in and like, let's have input. Let's be real, like with what's happening in our world.
Well, once again, that's the thing that happens. And you probably didn't realize at the time, but looking back on it, Golden Girls, they had a lot of like social issues where they pushed, and then you look at it back now and you're, some of the things did not age well, but a lot of them you're like, that was bold and progressive.
Yeah.
So I thought this was a really fun episode too, going with the reality show. I'm once again old enough where I remember when the first Real World happened and my roommates and I were all into it, putting it in the VCR to tape and everything, watching that first season and then the second season, which is when I think the second season is what they referenced, because they referenced a bunch of, reality shows, those first, the OGs, right, of reality. And I remember when there was the big drama of kicking off Puck from Real World, and it was such a huge deal. So I found, a little nostalgia in this that made it a little fun. And, closed room mysteries are always a really good one. Now bringing him in and putting him into the show kind of was a little ridiculous.
It was amazing,
but it was fun. Like I say, if you stop and think for a moment, you're like, this is ridiculous, but it was fun. So I had really no problem with that. My favorite part of the thing, though, was how Mark secretly watches Hot House and gets his thing of popcorn. Is like, Steve walks in. Oh, what? I don't know what. Oh, it's just stuck on this channel. Or when they go to the producer and like they start talking like they know what's going on. They're like, oh, channel surfing, right? How they clearly, are into the show, but they pretend like they're not. I thought that was a lot of fun. Once again, his sleuthing skills are being able to figure out like, let's look around and come up with exactly how she did it with the whole string with the weight on the bottom. Like, more power to you. That's almost as good as solving just by a sneeze. But, it was kind of funny.
Oh, okay. Well, now, favorite episode from the 8 that we watched. I've already alluded to mine, which is F Murder. I love that one. I think it's just top notch. I think the mystery, I know Eric didn't like it, but I'm like, no, they had to solve it too, because they went back and watched, Vicki Lawrence's character, here's how she added on weight to her shoes to walk through the garden. So she pretended she was a man and put weight to herself. And, here's the penny, how she put it in the socket. I mean, there were so many different other things that happened to help solve it. So for me, it really worked. And obviously the Vicki Lawrence part. I'm really dying to know, though, which one was your favorite?
It was not yours. Slam Dunk Dead.
What?
I thought Slam Dunk Dead totally made sense. It was an interesting, like I say, premise. It all sort of flowed. like how they did it, why they did it, all the things was like what you want in those things. Like I say, other than the characters specific thing not aging well, other than that, it was a pretty good cozy mystery series thing. So I thought it was good and interesting. I like, giving the cat there, knowing that he was once again the allergies, but being able to set it up and all that. So
Ah,
I found it interesting.
well, that was a shocker. Favorite setting? I actually picked the hospital itself because for me, it was just that steady, evolving backdrop to the show. Because just like they have, I mean, they have progressive storylines in here. The same with the hospital. The episode I just watched, there was Mark having dinner with another doctor, and the doctor was like, "Oh, you're late." And he was like, "Yeah, I was spending time with a patient just out of surgery." And he goes, "Man, I wish, my hospital in New York would, because one's was New York, one's LA." And he's like, all what they care about is how many patients I see in an hour now. It's no longer bedside manners. I can't actually have a relationship with my patient. It's how many people can I see? And I hate that medicine is going this way. And again, they talk
Progressive.
about that in this show quite a bit, especially at the start when you had Doris, who you don't know, the secretary, because Mark had an office and she was the secretary out in front. And he actually had his little back office that I'm sure he probably saw some patients in too. But like all of that left in season 3, and I'm sure it was also the evolving landscape of medicine in the United States and how that changed. And if they maybe hospitals did have that setup, they started to lose it because of insurance, and how insurance came in and just really changed the game for a lot of these hospitals and doctors. So for me, that's why I picked the hospital itself, just because if you do watch all 8 seasons, you see the hospital, you see medicine evolve. And I think this show does a good job of kind of portraying the ups and the downs of that.
I'm right there with you. I have anything that's in the hospital because for me, it all makes sense. So whether or not it has to all be in the hospital, but at least tying to the hospital, that's what I particularly like because it makes sense. For his sleuthing, it's kind of the same thing with all the Hallmark ones. I like when I can get on board them being a busybody baker sleuth, but it's got to somehow tie into it, so it can't just be random. Where some of these episodes are just very random to me, so I go for the hospital.
Well, most intriguing mystery. I didn't want to pick F murder. So I picked Flashdance with murder, with the cane and the pacemaker and that good twist to
And the
it.
good old electricity of
I
whatever the
know the
short.
electrocution, man.
At least it
So for
wasn't a
me,
mic.
I guess maybe they've had that too. I'm sure they have. I'm sure there is one. But yeah, that this for me was, I think, my favorite mystery. I guess I like them all in many different, unique ways. Because for me, diagnosis murder, sometimes the mystery itself is like secondary to the shenanigans happening.
100% can understand that. You are probably not going to. You're definitely not on board with me because mine is blood will out.
Dang.
And just because I found it really intriguing. And like I said, had it been in better hands than Diagnosis Murder, it could have been really, really good because like I say, that beginning, I did not see that coming in. Like I said, I don't want to say I jumped out of my seat, but I was definitely like, whoa. And, all along and just thinking of like the whole guys, sneaking around the whole hospital, creating havoc. And as he's trying to do things, and it turns out he's a government bad guy, but no, he's actually the good guy, and government's bad. And so I found it a very intriguing mystery that, once again, like I say, I think could have been done better, but the actual mystery itself was really intriguing to me.
Well, I would love to know your final thoughts if you have any. And the biggest question, are you going to watch more of this?
I probably will never watch another Diagnosis
No!
Murder,
My
but it was worth it. I got to see it.
heart is broken.
I wish we had access
Broken.
to Murder 101 because I would like to see how that. Have you seen those ones?
Of course I have. And I've
I don't.
tried to have us review it, but they're not on Hallmark Plus.
Right. I don't
And they're
know.
not, they're different characters then.
I wonder if they're. We should look, and maybe they're on something where we could just do the free 7-day thing and binge it really quick and be able to do it. I don't know. I would like to see about those, and I just to wrap up because we've gone a real long time. But for you, even though there's not seasons and seasons of it. Which one do you like better, Murder 101 or Diagnosis Murder?
Diagnosis Murder, because
Okay.
they're two different things to me.
Okay.
So for me, my final thoughts, give this a watch. Clearly Eric doesn't endorse, but I do. And
A
I
lot of
think
people do. A lot of people do get
I
it.
know,
So
you need to like just start binging it and then you'll fall in love with the characters, because making you watch like this, you were like, who's Dolores, the secretary? So I think like you missed that. You will get to know Jack a little and then be like, I still don't love him. It's fine that he left and Jesse comes in.
yeah, I was
Norman
wanting the dog
Briggs.
to eat him when he was locked in the thing.
And Norman Briggs, he's written out in season 5. And so he is kind of that staple as well, who you kind of are like, oh, it's kind of an annoying character, but he comes with the package. Then we have Dick Van Dyke's grandchildren in that final season. And then my fun fact, Victoria Rowell, who plays Amanda Bentley, she was in all but one episode. She was not in season 8, episode 11. I'm guessing I'm guessing she had thoughts on the episode itself based on, you can go and watch it. It was a lot of some eating disorder stuff, and it's a weird episode. Again, they get a little weird in season 8, so I'm guessing she didn't want to stamp her approval on this. Cynthia Gibb was originally going to portray Amanda Bentley. So this was Diagnosis Murder was TV movies first. I've never seen them before it got picked up as a series. She was recast because they thought Victoria Rowell was a better fit. They liked her work ethic. And she filmed Diagnosis Murder over her Young and the Restless lunch breaks. So talk about like
That's crazy.
Working around the clock. So that's kind of a fun little thing with Amanda Bentley, who we didn't mention a ton. I didn't pick any of the episodes where she does play a role. Like they each kind of give them, like Steve has some more heavily Steve episodes.
Will it bleed out? She was pretty central to that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but there's more. There's ones there. She is definitely the focus. So there are fun ones. If you do like these characters, I think they do a good job of like sprinkling them in. So give it a watch. Let us know. We'll have to do a poll if you agree with Eric or me. Who likes Diagnosis Murder? Well, and then next week, more episodes that we're going to be reviewing. We are going to be reviewing Rosemary and Thyme season 2. So we'll just kind of briefly go through the season 2 episodes and share our thoughts on Rosemary and Thyme next week.
And we have Taylor Cole interview. So
Eric's Mount Rushmore coming true.
It is all coming to reality. She is delightful. All right, Andrea. Thanks for doing this to me. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark Channel.